And there it is. Okay, well, look at us. Look at us out here. Podding, casting, other things. We're out here living. We're out here turning to the left. Like sometimes we do. Ooh, didn't think the mic would be so responsive. That's nice. It's right where I want it. Usually it's kind of hard to maintain that. We'll see what happens when I start bouncing around. Why would I be bouncing around, you ask? Well, if you are just coming up into the spaceship, welcome to the funky fancy ride with Justin. That is to say that this is a podcast, and when I say bounce, what I actually mean is run, which I will now provide an example for the next hour of doing, starting now. Yeah, so that's running. This is what we're doing. We're out here running. And while we're doing it, we're podcasting. So I sometimes like to call this a runcast. The actual official name of this runcast is Ride Along with Runman. I'm your host, Runman. I have many names. That is the one that I prefer. And, while I'm running. And I just wanted to take you along, because it's been a while. I've been running, I just haven't been recording. I've been dead at, what can I say? It's been like, I don't know, for the last few weeks, even back into when I began this podcast, but especially these last few weeks, I have to say that there's been a theme of life for me, and that's been managing my bandwidth. I've been attentive to how I use my energy, and I'm loath to use that word in too vague a sense, yet I'm doing it right now, so that ought to tell you that I'm a hypocrite, just like most of us, at least on some level. We're working on it, we're doing the best we can to maintain some integrity, but this conversation isn't about that. What I was saying was, we are in the business of bandwidth economics, internal bandwidth economics. We're managing what's coming in through the food, through the sleep. Something that they don't always tell you is that it takes energy to make energy. Your body needs certain things to make things happen. If you have nothing, you can't burn the fuel that you got in your stomach. Gotta have something happen in there. It's, what was it? I think Survivor Man also once said it a different way. He said that, believe it or not, if you want to, people know that to cool down, you need water. You got to have some hydration in your system so that your water can do what it does with your sodium distribution, and you can draw the moisture through and sweat it off and all that good stuff, And I don't know, must have been 10 episodes back, we were viscerally aware of that when we did the episode that I titled Salt Pan Flats. That was an allegory to the image of my body, or a metaphor for the image of my body at that moment during that run. I was encrusted with my own body's salt because of all that moisture content. What I'm getting at is that the opposite is also true. You also need water to heat your body up, believe it or not. So what I'm saying is that everything that everything that we do as human beings requires some get-go force. So even getting more bandwidth is an operation. It's a manufacturing sequence. It's a bandwidth thing. So it's never quite as clear as food in, mood up, feel good, can do. It's always it's a thing. I personally come up against this with hydration. Hydration, in order to ingest and use water, you're ingesting it and you're using it. That requires energy. You might get a lot more back than what you put in, particularly if a lot of other systems are revving up with a fair proficiency. Let's take the right here, yeah. But it takes something. It just does. And that's okay. But let's be realistic about it. Let's not pretend. I mean, like I was saying, in my life, I find that when I drink water, I drink like 1,000 water. I drink like 1,000,000 water. I flood my system. I tend to flood my system late at night and first thing in the morning. And sometimes it kind of stays with me a little bit because what else am I doing during those times? I'm drinking beer. I'm eating dinner. I'm sleeping for a lot of that time. What do all those things take? The same thing that is the magic word of the podcast this episode, which is bandwidth. It all takes some amount of bandwidth, man. So we got to be realistic about that and have the conversation. Especially if you're like me and when you do things, you tend to do a lot. If I eat, I tend to eat a shit ton. If I'm drinking water, I tend to drink all the water. But how many of all the things can you do all at once? That's like an American koan. It's a beautiful thing. It's an absolute absurd statement to make. But we made it. If you fill your stomach as much as you can with water, and then you try to cram as much food down your throat as you possibly can in the next 20 minutes, your body is at some point, it's going to make less use of both of those resources because it has X amount of processing power. Now, perhaps if you were to trickle the water in, that would have been different. Or if you didn't have a backlog of things set up because you had cleared the backlog of all the things your body was trying to do that day because you, let's say, fasted, then maybe you'd have more to work with. And it wouldn't be such an issue. I don't know. Because then you have such things as the physical dimensions of your stomach and what your body's used to doing. And if you're changing things, that's a bandwidth thing too. And things such as just even the physical structures of your body, like the size of your stomach, I'll get to an example here in a second, but that's also like a part of this magical word, bandwidth. I'm using it like I'm using the word energy. Very low resolution, very woo-woo. I'm trying to kind of be gentle with it, but also firm. So that we can actually fucking wood chipper, so that we can get somewhere with these ideas. I tell you, if it's not demufflered motorcycles going 95 in a 30, it's wood chippers and garbage trucks. Anyway, here's one. Here's actually the most recent example. I had the chance this morning on my last cycle of Wim Hof breathing to experience the dilation of my blood vessels in the palm of my left foot. Sorry, the ball of my left foot. I was laying there in bed and I was going in for the dive, right? So I compressed my air chamber with my final big ass breath. My lungs were totally full to bursting. And I was just holding it for a couple of seconds, a few seconds. The light show began as it does. I was minding my body as I did, because I know the inclination then would be to rock my head back and forth, or to twitch, or to spasm my body as a natural consequence of spasming my attention anywhere that it can go, so that the ego can kind of preserve itself in the moment of what felt like a near-death experience. This is well-trod territory by this point in my practice. Casual though it is. I don't write this stuff down typically. I will once in a while. But anyway, so I felt that. That's what's supposed to happen eventually. As your system becomes more robust, as your blood vessels become a little bit more available to the needs of the moment, that particular breath practice is famous for pushing heat from your core, for generating a lot of heat, first of all, but then to push it from your core, from your center, out to your limbs, which is the opposite thing as what reflex will do to most people who aren't employing that practice, who find themselves covered in ice all of a sudden, for instance. Well, that's my reaction too. I'll shiver, my body will do all those things, all the reflexes will kick in. Even when I do the practice in something like a cold shower, let's say, which I do every day. I've even, for about 10 times now, virtually every cold shower, I'm actually doing the Wim Hof breathing strategically, softly, while in the cold shower, because you got to be careful. You don't want to do this if you're in any kind of danger. I don't do Wim Hof when I drive. You're not supposed to. I don't do Wim Hof most of the time. I wouldn't do it right now. Breathing enough is enough because we're running. That particular type of breathing is great for a few things, and I have enough proficiency to employ it in that particular circumstance. I'm comfortable with that. I'm not advertising anybody to do that, because the proclivity for a human being, rather the probability of cracking your head on a surface as you wink out of your consciousness momentarily, is high. But I've got some practice. The practice tells me that I know that I can dial it back and not dive quite as deep if I need to do something like, say, balance on a slippery floor. Or if I need to have the presence of mind, say, to know that I'm overextending myself. So, boom, arm comes out, wall is grasped, or bar is grasped, or rail is grasped, or slowly going down to the knees so that I can't fall that far. I have a lot of protocols, and I have them pretty deeply embedded in this particular practice. Change any detail of the practice and I'm suddenly a child again. I don't know what the hell to do. But in this case, with this one thing, it sounds like I'm trying to cover my ass here because it sounds really reckless what I'm doing. But I'm telling you, I'm gentle. Gentle but firm, just like I am with the word energy. Anyway, to come back to the topic, I was quite pleased this morning because my body allowed me, through the practice, a momentary glimpse into consciously manifested greater access to the bandwidth. I asked the bandwidth to allow the practice to do what the practice wants to do. People are warned, cautioned, and invited to enjoy the interesting experience simultaneously during these practices of feeling these surges of heat, these tingles, these whatever it is. You really want to embody the state. And I'm a spaceship guy. My mind and my ego like to flee. They like to find something to fixate on and hold anchor to. They don't like to dissolve because it feels like dying. So, embodying and facing the thing, facing and putting your attention in your body, noticing the twitches, noticing the tingles. I'm a low tingle guy, with the exception of when I go deep enough for long enough. My hands become very, very, very inflamed by a sense of tingling in a very pleasurable way. But that hasn't happened in a while to the degree, to any deep degree. I haven't tried to go there. I know what it's like to try to get your body to do something. I'm just invitational. Like, if you want to, cool. At some point, it'll probably be a regular thing for there to be a lot of tingling and a lot of heat. But for now, we get a little bit. Just a little bit. But this one time, this morning, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, a bloom of heat flew through that part of my left foot. And there was like a little bit on the right side too. But I tend to store more tension in my right calf, my right ankle, my right foot. I know this. I've been paying attention to it recently. I know this. Lot of tension. It was a little bit easier to talk my left foot into relaxing for me. Anybody who's ever done yoga nidra might know what I'm talking about. To just like call out a single body part and be like, hey you, what's going on? We cool? Oh, you feel like that? Okay. I invite you to feel that way if you want to, but here's an invitation to something else. Then boom, heat. Anyway, I was quite pleased. I have a little bit of an insecurity because what I was actually getting at way before, in terms of bandwidth as applies to the Wim Hof method, is that, yeah, we're asking the body to modify what it's doing with the bandwidth that it has. And tie that together with right now, I've got a bit of an insecurity because my system has a chronic stress problem, or a chronic stress sandwich, a chronic stress background, let's say. So I get the twitches. I'll get the random what's the word for cramps? I'll get the random cramp here or there, just a tiny bit here and there. For every one of those that I get, I'll get 100 of other things, like all of a sudden, for no reason, itchiness, or the sense that someone's pushing a needle into some part of my body. The needle thing is especially potent, and especially something that will regularly happen when I'm sweating and haven't sweated in a long time. It's like my pores opening up, just the nerves like fire up all at once, and it's just all this sensation in tiny little pinpricks, one, maybe two at a time. Last time I felt one, it was the left edge of my left foot, and I had the feeling of a pin being pushed in, and it was also in my right extremity above my right hip, and toward my back a little bit. No, toward my front a little bit, I want to say. And I felt them both surge together again and again. They did that 3 or 4 times. It was really uncomfortable. Double pulse. And then I was delivering food at the time. I was about to pull over and just scratch my foot to try and get some input in there. So you try to relax into a thing like that at first, and then when you don't get immediate gratification, the angry child comes out and he's like, fuck that. Scratch that shit. Overly groom yourself and develop problems with your skin. You know, as you do. Anyway, for me, we can talk about push pins and tingles and things, but the reality of it is my body's vasoconstriction reaction is pretty strong. It doesn't take much for my body to be like, shut it off, shut the fingers and toes off, bring it in, save the organs. So, people like that, okay, yeah, she saw me, okay. People like that, like this, tend to get cold easy. They tend to... And I guess I can admit that I've historically not had the highest cold resiliency. Not the lowest, but not the highest. I certainly do feel it. But there's just things like that, right? So your body like... And with this cold shower thing, that's just it. I'm in there. The reason why I'm doing the breathing now is because it got really uncomfortable. And I'll tell you how. It's like, and you wouldn't think I would need to. You'd think like, oh, cold shower, what's uncomfortable about that? How about everything, Justin? What are you talking about? Like you're going to have to split hairs on this? No. Check it out. It's cold. It's raining down. And as that's happening, well, the body's stress response happens. And that means that the blood vessels pull in. And wouldn't you know, next time that happens to you, I want you to watch yourself. I want you to watch what happens to your flexibility level. Because I noticed, even having my hands open felt like stretching. Felt like my hands wanted to curl up inward. Like there just wasn't enough real estate. Like it was collapsing. This is constriction. But it was physical. It's like my blood vessels were getting physically not only thinner, but shorter. Like my whole body was turning from a hand into a fist. Even as, fractally enough, even as I watched my hand itself go through this, my entire body was doing the same thing. And turning white, because less and less blood was there, and I don't have that much pigment, so there's not much else going on beneath the blood reaction. It's clearish, whitish, and that was pretty stark. Hold my hand up and it's like a ghost. I'm like, whoa, okay. So, if you want to talk about bandwidth management, asking your body not to do that, it is possible. But that's an adjustment. What do adjustments require of us, class? I'll give you 3 guesses. It's a 2-syllable word. Whew. I'll give you a hint. Imagine a rubber band stretching before it flings somewhere that the rubber band really wants to go. But for a second, it's through the ringer. That might have been too colorful to be a good hint. I'm no poet. No poet. I'm no author of sacred sensations over here. The written word. Anyway. So yeah. I'm glad we got that out of the way because of 2 things. One, I've been thinking about what I'm going to say next time I do podcast. I've almost had the headphones on and the jack in the last couple of times, and I was like, I don't know what I want to say. And also, I just want to run. So I listened to that voice. But the other thing was, that I really wanted to get to this particular subject a little bit more. It's just one of those tricky things, man. Dissecting these words is tricky. Remember the hill? Hello, hill. You're popular these last few podcast episodes. Thank you for being a hill. I will now honor you by running. It will be very painful. But we gotta do it. By the way, I didn't mention this before. Tech update. Extremely minor. Using my thumb and my forefinger, I discovered a new function on the Zoom aspect of my video app. So the rocking might be much worse than usual because I believe what I did was zoom in a little bit. Not much. I had it zoomed in a lot. I was like, oh my God. So I dialed it back a little. Let's see if I can't go to iCam for a second. Oh yeah. It's hard. It's impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. My hope is that... Ooh, hi, roses. Oh, yeah, her. Should I just keep this swivel going? Look at them houses. Look at them pretty houses. Pretty mailbox. This might cause you to throw up. Disclaimer. That or the sound of me fighting for breath. I hate that sound. I think it's one of those things where because I'm doing it, it's fine. For me, hearing people fight for breath sucks though. I hate it. Having said that, we're not really going that fast. This is not mountain breath. We'll get there. You and I. Hopefully. God, I guess I don't have that long, do I? Not with the mountain that I'm thinking of. Not with the run that I'm thinking of. Yeah. I've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of deliveries. So many. Lots and lots and lots. And lots. Like 100. Like 1,000. Million deliveries an hour. The sound of the crumbling mind. Sidebar. sometimes in quiet moments in these hills, and other times, especially on drives in the country, my mind is filled with an image of me on a hotel located on a bridge out somewhere exotic, drinking coffee early in the morning with nowhere to go, nothing to do, and a good book and a pen and paper. On an adventure, or not. Just doing my thing. Peaceful, yet big. I like beautiful mind pictures. That particular one, I don't know if anybody's ever built a hotel on a bridge. I can't imagine not. I can't imagine why not. People build hotels in crazy places. In fact, sometimes the crazier the better. Shoot. People make their overnight camps on the side of mountains sometimes. And, well, golly, just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Or that it's wrong for me doesn't mean it's wrong, period. I'd rather not have a hotel stay extended out from the edge of a cliff using hooks and stakes and things. But hell, if you want to go do that, awesome. For some reason, I'm compelled to find myself at a bridge hotel someday, drinking coffee with a light and easy schedule. Oh yeah, I didn't mention the water. The hotel and the bridge, located above, way above, some vast expanse of deep blue, clean water. Doesn't that sound good? That sounds beautiful. With some coffee, but not too much. Who knows? Might just happen. I might just find myself that guy in that place. That'd be nice. Okay, end sidebar. The goal, one goal that I have, one huge milestone for the Wim Hof practice that I could be approaching more quickly with some pretty acute practices that are very clear, that we can go over if you want to, but I'm not doing them. One milestone that I want to get to is to see that happen. To see, not the hotel bridges thing, but to see my body react in a quick way, where the reflex, the vasoconstriction reflex, turns to the security of the practice. It'll be in my bones at some point, enough to where I'm in the cold shower. I do the deep dive, and then all the air comes out. And then, I shampoo, because that's when you shampoo, because you don't want to be breathing gouts of air while you have shampoo going down your face. Otherwise, it tastes like butter and lye. And you don't want that. And to hold up my hand after a cycle or two. Typically, I can get through like 2 cycles before I get out of the shower, and the third one is like a drying off Wim Hof breathing round. So it's typically like a 3-round thing. Really has extended my shower stays. But anyway, the milestone, yes. The milestone is, after pulling out of that, you see very quickly the hand goes from being white from the vasoconstriction to red with the dilation. I want red hands. I want red hands. That happened in the ice bath when I took it. Of course, that was a 2-minute ice bath. That was tough. And I say 2 minutes. 2 minutes at the most. We're going to wait for this car because that's the safe thing. Ooh, pop the neck. Life is a highway. I won't ride it all night long. Whew. Just switching around a little bit. Just switching around a little bit. Swivel the camera a bit. Throw you off a little. Were you paying attention? Whew. Did you just look over and suddenly throw yourself off of your elliptical? Because you received a weird visual jerk from a visual jerk. Okay, I'll keep it above board, guys. I'm sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Not sorry. I am sorry. Not for the podcast or anything in particular. Just for the jerking. No more. So that's the milestone. And I guess we're kind of on the way back, aren't we? So yeah, we have time to talk about the practices. If you want, Wim Hof went over this recently with Jordan Peterson, because Jordan had a real problem. Wim Hof is doing podcasts now, by the way, for those who don't know. He had Russell Brand on first. He did a two-parter recently with Jordan Peterson. I haven't seen part 2, but part 1 was cool. And in part 1, Wim Hof, the man, the myth, was talking to the doctor about what he might do with his body now that he was trying to get healthy from this pretty horrific benzoate addiction, which apparently withdrawals do kill people, and it left this guy in a pretty sour state. So he's asking Wim, what can I do, man? I can't sit still. I'm doing your practice. I'm doing all these other practices. I've got basically a full body vibrator that I'm on. Not as fun as you'd think. Wim is like, yo, I've got you. First of all, and then he just, he talked about doing cold showers and stuff, and he and Jordan talked about where to put the attention when you're in the cold shower, and Jordan was doing what I do, which is run away, Think about anything else. Do anything else. Not the pain. Not the pain of the cold. Wim is like, nah, man. Be there. It's right there. But after all that, Wim was like, check it out. If you wanna spice it up, Wim knew some people who received some real good medicinal grade healing from the following practice, which I'll tell you. It is a daily, I think, 4-minute practice.